It's not going to look good if you draft the wrong wide receivers this year. Today, we're going to rank the top 40 wide receivers to help you out with your fantasy drafts. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing player rankings. We're doing draft strategies. We're looking at news from training camp. We're going to help you set your lineups every single week, doing videos every single day during the season. Click that button, stop missing out. But what you're seeing here is a bunch of players pixelated. We're going by tiers. We're ranking the players. And we're going to go line by line, giving you analysis on each player. So starting off with tier S, the stud tier, we're starting off with Justin Jefferson. When everything's said and done, he's going to be one of the best wide receivers of all time. He's steady on the field week in and week out with good fantasy production. And the only question mark is the quarterback play, but it's been looking good in training camp. Next, coming off the board, we're looking at Ja'Marr Chase, the wide receiver 1 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Consistency, steadiness, and top-tier upside. You're a top-tier S wide receiver when you have that. That's what you're getting with Ja'Marr Chase, 23.7 points per game. No way he doesn't get that this year unless something happens. And you're looking at the routes ran. He's got a 99.9% route participation rate, running over 40 routes per game. He is the offense for the Bengals. S tier is the stud tier. These two wide receivers are money. You can tell it in the ADP. CeeDee Lamb somewhere around there. If you want to throw him in S tier, go right ahead because he's next on ADP. However, those are the studs. If you're worried about Justin Jefferson and his health, I believe he's going to be good to go, and we're going to see how that's going to materialize. But right now, those are the stud wide receivers year in and year out. Going back to the A tier, and these guys are very close to S tier wide receivers, so you want to mix and match what you got here, depending on your draft strategy. But tier A, CeeDee Lamb, stud wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. She'll get a good target share. You're looking at a stud, consistent wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. The offense flows through him. He should be steady with top-tier production week in and week out, as you're seeing a good share of the air yards, a good target share, which ranks top 10 among wide receivers, and he's just a safe play overall. Next off the board is Malik Nabers. He's getting a lot of looks from Russell Wilson. You're looking at top-tier upside that could take a step forward this year with Russell Wilson, 18.2 points per game, going nuclear in some of those matchups with bad quarterback play as a rookie last year, getting double-digit targets almost every single game last season. And you're seeing him run a lot of routes per game and getting an elite target share, leading all wide receivers at 34.9%. Off the board for the Rams, here's Puka Nacua. When he's healthy and on the field, he's getting targeted, he's getting opportunities, and that is equating to fantasy production. Ever since his inception to the league, Puka Nacua has been going off. We even saw that last year with multiple wide receiver 1 weeks, 18.8 points per game. He's running a lot of routes, yards per route ran, number 1 among wide receivers, target share pushing 30%, and fantasy points per target 1.95, and he's getting a lot of volume. Amon St. Brown, the stud from the Detroit Lions. Consistent year in and year out is Amon St. Brown. Consistent week in and week out is Amon St. Brown. He's a safe play. There's upside with him week to week. Even his down weeks aren't too bad at 18.7 points per game. He's running a lot of routes, a 90.4% route participation rate, and pushing an elite target share at 27.3%. Nico Collins, a healthy season, a full workload. He's a top-tier wide receiver. We didn't get to see him in a full season last year, but he made a major impact, multiple wide receiver 1 weeks, while missing a lot of time, 17.6 points per game. Nico Collins commands deep targets. He also commands a lot of volume, which is great for fantasy production, an 8 out of 10.9 and a target share pushing 25%. He's getting a lot of volume, 8.3 targets per game. That is something you want to rock with week to week. I want to see this for a full season. A.J. Brown, the older, dominant wide receiver of the group, still has that gusto to win you leagues. You're looking at one of the old, dominant wide receivers who's still one of the top wide receivers in the game, 16.7 points per game last season, multiple wide receiver 1 weeks with barely any games where he's killing you in fantasy. 7.5 targets per game, but he's doing a lot with his targets as he's getting an average depth of target of 12 yards and a target share around 35%, ranking second among wide receivers. So if the passing volume increases for Philly, that means the target volume is going to increase for A.J. Brown. Looking at tier A, you got a lot of talent here. A lot of guys with the upside, a lot of guys that's going to push the S tier. They're pretty much S tier light. The wide receiver position is deep, especially in the first 3 rounds of this year's draft. So you may want to go heavy at the wide receiver position to make sure you're good and stacked up. But going down here back to the list, we got tier B. And it's getting rather interesting because I like a lot of these wide receivers. I like Drake London, pushing tier A status right now. This is a wide receiver that could step up into elite territory if he cashes in with Michael Penix. 16.5 points per game. Also very steady with production. 9.4 targets per game. He's getting a lot of volume. And the target share's up there. 6th among wide receiver. ADOT at 10.8. Looking solid there as you're getting a target share of 30% with an ADOT in the double digits. Lad McConkey is on the come up. He came on strong at the end of last season, ramping things up throughout the year during his rookie year. 7 targets per game, but weeks 11 through 18, he was just a stud, hitting it game after game in fantasy production. Lad McConkey, yards per route ran, ranked 7th among wide receivers, getting good accuracy from Justin Herbert and a decent target share at 25%. Brian Thomas Jr., his release off the line of scrimmage is top tier in the NFL. He's also very productive with 4.3 speed, can stretch it downfield. 16.7 points per game as a rookie, getting 7.8 targets per game. Travis Hunter is not going to impact him. They play different roles in the offense, and you're looking at what he did last year as a rookie, 25.5% target share, ADOT in the double digits. That's something you want to chase, a guy going into year 2 with good workload metrics. T. Higgins can blast off on any given Sunday. When he's healthy and on the field, he's very vibrant and great for fantasy football. Has upside for days. Not a lot of people are going to trust him. You might catch him at a discount. 9.2 targets per game. The Bengals are going to be in a lot of shootouts, and they paid up for him. And also getting a 25% target share. His ADOT can ramp up too in some years, and he's running a lot of routes. DeVonta Adams. It's going to be looking good with the Rams. Same face, new team. A lot of upside with the Rams. We got to see what's up with Matthew Stafford, but 17.2 points per game last season, especially with Aaron Rodgers. 10 targets per game. The targets mean we're getting separation. We're earning those targets. Targets are earned on the field, and he was definitely doing that last year, getting a target share around 30%. 5th among wide receivers. He's top tier there. He's got a good target rate versus man and a win rate versus man among wide receivers considering the volume. Also 9th in targets among wide receivers, 10 targets per game. Very studly, should be targeted a lot here with the Rams. Looking at Xavier Worthy, one of the few players on this list that I got a hot take on. I believe he's going to take a step forward this season. We're looking at the upside play in this tier with 11 points per game last year, 4.2 speed and blaze to track, tethered with Patrick Mahomes. I look for him to take a step forward. We saw that a little bit in the playoffs last year. Worthy has a lot of upside here for 2025. Yards after the catch, 16th among wide receivers. He gets a lot of work in the red zone. You just got to take advantage of that speed. When I look at tier A here, there's a lot of good wide receivers. This is kind of like the thinning out process of those stud wide receivers in drafts. Hopefully by the time you're through with tier A, you have 2 or 3 good wide receivers from all 3 tiers, and you're rocking it pretty solid with a good anchor running back or 2 as you get to that dead zone of the draft. But as we go here to tier C, we got some talent here, starting off with Tyreek Hill. If we come back playing hard, healthy, looking good, big things, speed kills, and when he's on the field healthy, he's one of the top wide receivers in the game. If we can get back to that and back to cooking like years prior, then you got a big-time asset here at a cheap price here in fantasy football. Still getting 7 targets per game, multiple games with 8, 9, 10 targets. So there's plenty of upside and workload, and he's winning on a lot of his routes because he's fast, he's twitched up, he's a good route runner. Garrett Wilson should own a large target. Paired with Justin Fields, we should see a lot of targets going his way. Can he connect? Can he be a little bit more consistent on the upside? Not many down weeks for Garrett Wilson, but still not enough upside weeks as well to garner an S tier form or even A tier. 9 targets a game, though. The volume was there last year with Aaron Rodgers. I expect deeper targets. I expect more YOLO opportunities for him as the target share's up there around 26%. running a lot of routes and getting a lot of opportunities. Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the come up. We should see an increase for Marvin Harrison Jr. this year as he's looking good in training camp. Although he was a great wide receiver out of Ohio State, he was drafted high. It did not hit the expectations as a rookie, creating a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. However, not a bad rookie season though. That's kind of expectations and common sense when you look at a wide receiver like him. And I look for him to get better. He's a hard worker, and he had some good numbers to him. His win rate versus man was solid. His catchable target rate was horrible. So if we can connect on a few more of these targets and get better target accuracy, we might be on the come up here. Terry McLaurin, connecting with Jaden Daniels last year for almost 16 fantasy points per game. We were rolling most of the year from week 3 to week 18 with only 2 games that were on the downs during that time. And 6.9 targets per game, but we were getting targeted deep downfield. As you look at the ADOT of 13.3, double-digit ADOT with a target share pushing 24%. Rather solid here for Terry McLaurin as he's getting solid targets downfield. DJ Moore should be racking up targets. Caleb Williams loves this guy, and he's going to be shooting him targets week in and week out. DJ Moore killed it with Justin Fields. He's going to have another good season this year. He's a steady wide receiver with upside. You see that in the numbers, 14.1 points per game, and you're looking at him running all the routes, not leaving the field, and winning on a lot of those routes as well. Mike Evans, upside machine, another good year from him if he's healthy. He's a legend. You can't really beat Mike Evans when it comes to his career. Well, you can if you look at Jerry Rice, but you know what I'm talking about. Year in and year out, he cashes. As long as he's healthy and on the field, he has the chance for upside in the wide receiver 1 week. It's a little bit volatile, but we're getting a lot of deep targets, a lot of work in the red zone, and the target share at 24% is very solid. Rashee Rice. I do not know where to rank him because he's probably getting suspended. I do not know how long the suspension is, but I don't want to push him down too low because when he comes back or if he ever gets suspended, he's going to be productive. If the suspension is very light, I'm going to boost him back up the rankings. If the suspension is pretty bad, 6+ games, I might keep him down here or even down a little bit lower in the rankings due to missing a lot of games, but he's going to be productive when he's on the field. Rashee Rice, a 25.7% target share, has a good rapport with Patrick Mahomes, and that's only going to continue. And looking at this tier, you got a good batch of wide receivers you want to mix and match. This wide receiver class is very deep. Hopefully you're racked up before we get to the double-digit rounds of this year's draft as wide receiver thins out fast once you get past the dead zone. But coming back down here, we're looking at tier D, and we got some talent here to look at. Jaxon should be the target leader for Seattle. He was very consistent last year, but we got new quarterback play. We got new wide receivers in the offense. It could be slowed down a bit for him, but he could also be steady. He could also help you out with a few wide receiver 1 weeks, maybe 3, 4, 5 of them this year. 8.1 targets per game. I bet the volume's still going to be there for him, and he was winning on a lot of routes. He's a good route runner. Jaxon is a guy that could be a cheap addition to help round out your wide receiver depth chart. DK Metcalf, probably an easy to 20 to 25% target share. Upside for days with DK Metcalf. We're paired with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get all the targets and opportunities. Look for him to get 7+ a game, probably pushing 10 in a lot of these games, if not 15 targets, getting volume. There's going to be a lot of games where it's iffy, it's up and down due to the slow gameplay, but still, he's going to get a good ADOT. They're going to shoot it downfield to him. He's going to get a double-digit ADOT and a good target share of well over 25%. DeVonta Smith. He's consistent. He's safe. He's one of the top wide receiver 2s in the league. If there's more passing volume in this offense, DeVonta Smith's really going to cash in. He has the potential to give you big weeks. 3 wide receiver 1 weeks last season. Some of the top wide receivers in the league getting you like 4, 5, 6 games. That's something to look at. If he's healthy for a full year, you'll be getting good production. He's a wide receiver 2 most weeks. You're looking at top tier target share as well, and that's going to hold steady. He's a good wide receiver. That's why he won the Heisman. Jamison Williams is an upside dandy. The Will Fuller effect is in effect with Jamison Williams. You're either getting top tier production or a little bit of nada, but he's also a little bit more consistent. He is the anti-Will Fuller when it comes to consistency because week to week he can hammer it out for you. Only a few games with under 10 PPR fantasy points, getting 6 targets a game with that speed, that is good to cash in when you're looking at what he's doing on the field with pushing a 20% target share and a good ADOT in double digits. Courtland Sutton, I'm too low on him, I believe, because he's got as much upside as the tier B guys here. If he stays healthy, he's probably going to go nuclear this season. He's looking good in training camp, has a good rapport of Bo Nix, 8+ targets a game, multiple weeks as a wide receiver 1. He's collecting a lot of air yards every single week with a good target share. Courtland Sutton has more upside than a lot of wide receivers. George Pickens is going to be a nice volatile play. Same face, new team. George Pickens got a lot of upside with the Cowboys. Week in and week out, he's going to be getting deep targets. He cashes in on a couple of those. He's going to have a splash week. We're definitely going to see that. May not be consistent, but he's going to score big in a few weeks this season. That ADOT's going to be in double digits. His target share is probably going to push around 20 to 25%, with CeeDee Lamb racking up a lot of targets as well. I look for him to have some big moments this year. And then Jaylen Waddle, if the Dolphins get right, if he gets right, we could be back into being a wide receiver 1, if not a high-end wide receiver 2, and he's a huge discount right now in drafts. 10 points per game last year with 2 wide receiver 1 weeks. When the offense was in shambles a lot of time last year, he had some injuries as well. Tua was injured as well. That's something to take note of. So if everybody's healthy and things are rolling, Waddle could be bouncing back up. And things are going to start thinning out after this tier. When you're looking at the wide receiver talent, when you're looking at the upside, the week-to-week consistent production. But you're going to be stacked by the time you're done with this tier when it comes to wide receiver. But when we come looking at the next tier, tier E, you're going to like the names, but we're shooting for upside with T-Mac. He could be rocking a 20% target share by season end. This could be our AJ Green of the draft. He could be hitting on all cylinders during his rookie season. This is a big-time prospect who broke out early in college and who was very productive in college. We're seeing it in training camp. There's not much competition on the roster. There's some good wide receivers here that are starting to turn things over. Hunter Renfro's doing good. Jimmy Horn's doing good. But T-Mac's just on a different level. Travis Hunter is an upside machine that you may want to gamble on. Upside for days if we connect with Trevor Lawrence and build on that early in our career. He's going to be running a lot of routes, working on both sides of the ball. He's a gamble, but one of the top wide receivers in the draft. But if he hits, he's going to hit hard. And there's not a lot of competition after Brian Thomas Jr. Dyami Brown's very explosive, but has not hit at all at the NFL level. So Travis Hunter could be in line for a major role here with the Jaguars. Rome Odunze is another upside dandy into year 2. Not a bad season as a rookie last year. Rome Odunze is going into year 2 after collecting a 20% target share, double-digit ADOT, and racking up some games with double-digit targets. Very productive when it comes to workload, 13.8 ADOT, target accuracy, 100th among wide receivers. So if that gets better, which it could easily do that, even halfway, you're looking at a wide receiver that could go nuclear this season. Jerry Jeudy came hard last year. He had a run last season from week 11 to week 17 where he was very productive, 14.2 points per game. Could do that again this year when you look at Joe Flacco and the quarterbacks. Who's going to be slinging the rock? Can this offense be fast-paced enough? Will they push it downfield enough? However, I look for him to lead the target share rally here in Cleveland. Jordan Addison, the suspension's the huge question, but when he's on the field, he's getting targets, he's getting opportunity, and McCaffrey's looking his way a lot in training camp right now, building that rapport, a 21.4% target share, getting a lot of opportunities per game, and a good 8 out of 11.4, and one of the fastest paced offenses in the league. Could create a lot of opportunities, rivaling some of the wide receiver ones in the National Football League. Jacoby Myers is going to be racking up targets. A lot of people forget about him, but he's very productive. He can be consistent. He also has some upside. 8.6 targets per game last year. He missed some games, but still rather consistent. Runs a lot of routes. There's not a lot of competition on this offense to steal a lot of those targets, so look for him to get a lot of work this season. But you're looking at this tier, you got a lot of talent still, but it's thinning out. A lot of these guys could be gambles week to week, but by the time you get down here, you should be good at wide receiver. You shouldn't have to question it, and now you're just taking guys that you want to take for upside, or guys you're rounding out your wide receiver depth chart, and we're looking at tier F here down below. Zay Flowers. He's the wide receiver 1 for his team. He could possibly push up to the next tier, but also the Ravens like to target the tight end and use the run game. 3 wide receiver 1 weeks last season, 3 wide receiver 2 weeks. Consistent, but also has those down games with almost 7 targets a game. Injuries happened last year, but he was fine. He's looking good right now. A good 8-out, which increased from the year prior, and he's got some upside to his name. But you're looking at Deebo Samuel. Which Deebo Samuel are we going to get this season? Is he going to be banged up, or is he going to go nuclear with the Washington Commanders? He did have 3 wide receiver 1 weeks last season, 5 targets per game. But the injuries mounted up last season, and we got to see if we can get right. And can we connect with the Washington Commanders and their good passing attack? Calvin Ridley's connecting with Cam Ward. You might find an underrated gem here with Calvin Ridley. 3 wide receiver 1 weeks last season, but he's consistent, getting 7.2 targets per game, getting a good average depth of target at 15.7. Cam Ward's looking his way, talking him up in interviews. I look for him to get a good target share, a good 8-out. Those are workload metrics you want to chase on wide receivers. Ricky Pearsall's back. He's on the come up, and he might be breaking out this season. He's back looking healthy. He had a mini breakout last season as a rookie, and you're looking at the wide receiver depth chart. Brandon Ayuk might be on the pup. Jennings is dealing with an injury. Jennings was up and down last season, and he's a first-round wide receiver that's very twitched up that could go nuclear this year as a lottery ticket upside play. Chris Olave's back healthy as well. He's healthy right now and blowing up in training camp, getting targets deep downfield. Can we go full season with a good bill of health? 5.5 targets per game. Prior to last year, we are consistent. We are showing upside, but the concussions came in. But the quarterback play might be the big issue here with Chris Olave that could impact his 2025 season. Juwan Jennings dealing with a hamstring, but it doesn't sound too serious. He came on strong last season with a huge game in week 3, 2 more big games as well, averaging 7.6 targets per game. Also had a lot of down games on the season that killed you in fantasy, but he does have a lot of upside. When you're looking at Jennings, he's getting a lot of routes ran, but a good target share of 26.3%. You're looking at the wide receivers that are healthy right now. Him, Pearsall, maybe Ayuk later on down the road. There's not too much competition. He might be able to sneak out some good fantasy weeks for you this year. Stephon Diggs is back healthy. Same face, new team. As he broke out with a new team last year before the injury, 15.2 fantasy points per game with a wide receiver 1 week in there and 2 20-point performances. Almost 8 targets per game. He's still able to create separation, command good target share. He's looking good in training camp. I look for Drake May to build a good connection with him. Let me know who's missing from the list that you want added, who you're drafting, what's your strategy. I want to hear that in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I got a lot more coming at you. We're going to ramp things up in August. I want to thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.